Hi Sumit, so I saw this dress online on TikTok actually and I loved it. So I decided to recreate and do mine, but actually added a tweak to mine because I made mine longer because I didn't want it this short, and I actually changed the neckline as well. So this is me on my dress, and I actually also went with the black fabric. I used the black crepe for this tutorial and it's actually very thick. The fabric cost me 2,500 per yard. I don't know, it might vary depending on your location. And I used 3 yards for this style. So if you're in a plus size, you'll be needing more than that. Actually, I had to manage it depending on how full you want it. But I was able to manage 3 yards for this. So if you like this dress and you would like to know how I made it, then you need to watch this tutorial to the very end. My name is Veronica Adams Eze. Welcome to Vera Adams YouTube channel. Without wasting time, let's get started. So at this point, I've gone ahead to draft the front bodice, yes. So I'm sure we all know how to do this, but if you don't, you can check my previous video on how to draft a basic bodice. So I have the shoulder to chest line to underbust to waistline, and I'll go ahead to mark the measurements. That's the bust measurements, the underbust measurement, the waist measurement, the hip measurement as well. Take note that I already went ahead to add that, so I'll go ahead to add back the data that I took here on the measurements. I also came down by about 6 inches from the hip line, and that serves as the M line. I've gone ahead to connect these points together and we have it right here. I'm also extending that line down to the M, but we're not going to be taking that to the M line. And from this point, I'm going to go in by 1 inch. I later increased it to 1.5, and from that point, we're going to form the curve. With my free hand, I'm going to form a curve to give us that shape that we have at the front of the dress. So this curve is starting from the M line and terminates on the hip line. So I wanted this more curvy. I decided to increase the side by 1/2 inch. That means I have 2 inches away from the dart line. And from that 2 inches point, I'm going to connect it to meet the side of the hip, just as I'm illustrating right here. I'm going to connect it in a curved manner. I don't want it straight. You can decide to leave it straight, but I wanted it a bit curvy. So I brought in my marker pen to make it more visible. Now I can go ahead to cut out these parts. Please note that this paper is on fold. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and open up the paper so that we can work on the neckline, since the neckline is an asymmetrical type of neckline. From the shoulder line, I'm going to go ahead to mark 6 inches downwards, and I'll make a mark right there. Remember that we're working with a neckline width of 3 inches, so we're still maintaining that. I'll go ahead and connect this with a ruler, just as you're seeing me doing, and from this point I'm going to connect it in a slant form to the other neckline. That's the other side of the neckline. Now that the neckline has been achieved, we can go ahead to fold the paper back and continue cutting. So for the lower part of this dress, I don't want to sew a dart, so I'm going to go ahead to close up the dart right here on the paper so that I wouldn't need to start sewing the dart on the fabric. So this is actually optional. You can go ahead to sew your dart on the lower part of this dress if you want to, but I just don't want it, so it is not a problem if you want to do that. So there will be no need for you to close up the dart on the pattern paper if you want to sew that on the lower part of this dress. So for this type of neckline, you have to open up either your fabric or the pattern paper that you're working with to actually cut this neckline out. So this is how the neckline looks like, and it's already giving me joy. I like what I'm seeing. So right here, I'm bringing the upper part for the front bodice, and I'm going to bring in the lower portion, which I've gone ahead to close up the dart. Now we can move on to the back bodice, and I've also gone ahead to draft some basic part of it out. It is exactly as the front piece, just that the back slope was taken here. So I decided to try out this extra thing I saw online some time ago to make the back slope better. So on the waistline, I'm going to be coming in by 1/2 inch on both sides, and from that point I'm going to connect it to the side waist, just as you're seeing me doing here. It's just like you're taking that on that side. I'll also go ahead and extend that line that we have on the hip to the M line, just as we did for the front bodies. I've gone ahead to mark 2 inches away from the dart line, and I'll connect it to the side hip, and I'll also connect it to meet the hip line, just as we did, exactly as we did for the front bodies. So because of this dart that we took around that waist area, it is going to reduce the total length of this dress. So you need to take note of that. So I'm going to cut this out so that we can actually close the dart that we have around this waist area. So I've gone ahead to do that right here, and this is what it looks like. So once that is done, I can go ahead to cut out this back slope right here. You can see how the back is looking right here. So I'll go ahead to cut the other part of this paper. But before we do this, I'm going ahead to take the length of this dress. Remember that it was 30 inches before. Now we have about 29 inches. Remember that we already closed up the waistline using paper tape or sellotape rather. So I'm going to go ahead to open up this tape so that we can work on the waistline. So here I am folding in the lower part of that inwards after I've gone ahead to do same for the upper part. So this is what it looks like here. Now I can proceed to cutting out the upper part completely. Once this is done, I'll go ahead to close up that of the lower part. So just to check, I went ahead to take the waist measurement after I was done closing up the dart, and we have exactly the waist measurement, which is good. So to make up for the shortage of length, I'm going to go ahead to add about 1 inch to this part. Please note that this part is optional. You don't have to go through all this part. It's not necessary. I just wanted to try this out. So at this point, we're done with the cutting for the back piece. I'm going to go ahead to couple it together so we can cross-check the length and know if we have the correct measurement for the length. So now we do have 30 inches. I'll go ahead and cut out this curvy part of the lower piece. As you can see, these pieces are already forming the shape that we want. So right here are all the pieces that we cut out. We're going to transfer these pieces right on the fabric. So the first thing I'll be cutting out is the lower part. Remember that this fabric has a length of 60 inches, so I'll be cutting on the length. So I want about 22 inches. So that means if I cut 22 inches in 2 places, I'll have 44 inches. That means minus 44 minus 60, that means I'll be having about 16 inches left. So I'm going to have 2 pieces, that's 22 inches in length, and 3 yards inches in width. That's about 108 inches for the width. That means I have 108 inches in 2 places. I hope you understand this. After cutting 22 inches length, we'll be having this remnant, and that is what I will use to cut out the upper piece of this fabric. So I'm going ahead to cut it out by placing the pattern paper right on top of it. Right here is the lower back piece. I went ahead to add 1 inch for the zipper and then 2 inches on the side. Now I'm done cutting this out. I'll move on to the 22 inches that I cut out for the gathers, and I'll go ahead and run a gather stitch right on top of it. I'll do that for the 2 pieces. We have 2 pieces. For the upper bodies, I've gone ahead to cut out lining, and on this lining I went ahead to attach a soft interfacing because the fabric already is a thick one. So right here on my machine, I'm going ahead to join the side bust to the center front, right from the bottom, from the waistline till we get to. If you don't know how to do this, just watch closely how I am stitching it down. So right here I'm done with coupling the side bust and the center front together, and this is what it looks like on the wrong side as well as on the right side. I've also gone ahead to join the fabric pieces of the front together just as we did for the lining, and this is what it looks like. So the next thing is to bring in the lining and couple the fabric and the lining together, right side facing right side, and go ahead to sew the neckline. I've gone ahead to pin it down before sewing so that it doesn't shift. So now I can start sewing. Once I'm done sewing this neckline, I'll go ahead to place notches all around so that it is easy to turn over. So once I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead to run a top stitch on the lining piece. Please note it's on the lining piece. This will also enable the fabric to slide easily. So here is what it looks like even without pressing yet. See how everything is laying flat. So now that we're done with the front piece, I'm going to move over to the back pieces. I'm going to go ahead to join the center back with the side back. I'll do that for the fabric and the lining pieces. So now that I'm done with the back pieces, I'm going to go ahead to press it down. Once that is done, I'm going to go ahead to turn along the neckline. I'll use the lining to turn the neckline of the fabric. So this is me running a top stitch along the lining piece just as we did for the front. Repeat the same process for the back pieces as well. Now that this is done, we're going to turn in the zipper region by folding as I am doing right here. You bring the folding towards the lining part and then run a stitch from the top to the waist. After this part is done, I will move to the side right here, and I'll also sew on the side so as to turn the side inside out as well. I'll go ahead and repeat this same process for the second back piece as well. So here is the gathered part, this one piece, but the second piece, you know, I said we cut two pieces 22 inches in length and 3 yards in width. So the second part, I'm going to divide that into two. That is what we use for the back piece. So for the two back pieces, I'm going to go ahead to gather all around till I get the measurement that I want for the back pieces. So here is what the back pieces looks like after I went ahead to press it down on the sides. And also right here is the front piece all ironed out. This is what it looks like. So the next thing to do is to bring in the back pieces and attach the back to the front along the shoulder line. So I'm going to take a piece of the back and then the front and align it right here as you're seeing me doing. I'll use a pin to hold it down. Then I'll go ahead to run a stitch of 1/2 inch. I'll go ahead and repeat the same process for the second side as well. Once this is done, I'll go ahead to close the back pieces together with a loose stitch so that it will be easier for us to work with. Remember that we're still going to put a zipper right there. Then we can proceed to take the measurement on the sides. So remember that we had about 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'll go ahead to mark 1 inch from the top to the bottom. So right here is the lower part for the front. So I'm going to go ahead to place these gathers for the front. Remember that the gathers for the front is one piece, unlike that of the back. So I'm going to go ahead to match these gathers with the other part of the fabric. I'm trying to see if these gathers would go around that fabric. So if it would not go around, then you can adjust the gather so that it has to fit properly. It has to go around this piece. So right here is the back part. Remember that because of the zipper, the back part will be in 2 pieces. So also we'll repeat the same process for the back as well. So right here I'm taking the front piece, both the gathers and the lower part, to the sewing machine to go ahead and stitch. So as I'm stitching, I'm also adjusting, making sure that what I have, the gathers, is able to cover up. Once we approach this pointed edge, we're going to go in by 1/2 inch and then turn the machine around just as I'm doing right here and continue stitching. So once you get to that point, you need to leave like about 1/2 inch, then just change the direction of your sewing and continue sewing down. If you don't understand what I'm actually saying, just watch closely, because we have those 2 sharp curves on this front piece and also on the back piece. So that means we are still going to do another sharp curve, or the sharp end, for this front part. So keep watching and pay attention. And now we've come to the end of the gathering. So here is what it looks like on the right side. So that is that sharp edge. So right here is the back pieces. I'm going to go ahead to run a loose stitch, since the zipper is going to continue here as well. So but I don't want the zipper to. But right here I'm going to do a back stitch. This is where the zipper will stop, so I'm going to continue with a regular stitch. So here is what it looks like on the right side. I'll go ahead and run a gathers on one part. I've already done that, so I'm going to continue with the second part. Remember that the back has 2 pieces of gathers, so I'll go ahead and start running the second gathers right from this part. That is from the zipper allowance region. So I'll go ahead and start gathering it right from that part, so I get to the side back. But please note that before I started gathering, I left about 1 inch that I will use to join to the other gathered piece. You will understand this better when we are done with this part. As you must have noticed, this part actually takes a bit of time. It is actually a bit time consuming, and you really want to be careful so that all your gathers are well laid and everything is symmetrical all through. That means they are equally distributed all around. I've gone ahead to use a serger to serge all around so that the wrong side looks very neat and so that it doesn't frill. So here's the part that I was talking about, that you leave about 1 inch so that you can close it up right there. But I actually realized that it's possible for you to have this back piece as one piece, so you don't need to even have it as 2 pieces. So you can decide to just have one piece, so there'll be no need to close up. But if you have 2 pieces just like mine, you have to close up at the back part, that's at the zipper area. So once this is done, you can go ahead to close it up around that gathered part, just as I'm illustrating right here. I'll still show you how I did it on the sewing machine, so you have nothing to worry about. So I've gone ahead to mark the allowance, take the measurement rather. So I'm going to go ahead to hold the front and the back piece together with a pin, and then we can go ahead to close up the 2 sides of this lower piece. There are 2 ways in which you can do this. You can either run a stitch from that waistline downwards, just like this, just as I'm illustrating here, or you can first close the skirt part first before, and then close the gathered part also separately. Then you go ahead to attach both together, and I think that's the one that I used here. I think that's better. That's my opinion though. Right here, I've gone ahead to stitch down the side of the upper bodice. So I'm going to turn inside out. And right here is the right side. Now I'll go ahead to bring in the lower bodice and attach it to it. So for the lower bodice, I didn't make use of a lining. If you want, you can go ahead to use a lining for yours. It is totally optional. It depends on your preference. So right here, I'm making sure that the side of both the upper bodice and lower bodice align. So once I'm done with this, I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew it down. So right here, I'm going ahead to show you how I stitch those parts down the side, the skirt area, and how I opened some part up and sew along the gathered part as well. Was this video any helpful? If it was, do not hesitate to give it a thumbs up by clicking on the like button. And if you are yet to be subscribed to this YouTube channel, kindly subscribe. If you have any question regarding any part that wasn't too clear to you, feel free to drop your question in the comment section. I'll be there to respond to you. So this is what it looks like after I was done stitching the sides with the gathers. So at this point, I can go ahead to attach the lower piece of these bodies to the upper piece. If you like to see more helpful videos like this, do well to turn on your notification bell so that you'll be the first to be notified each time I upload a new video. Do well to share this video to family and friends that are also sewmates. I'm sure it will be helpful to them as well. If you saw this video up to this point, I want to say a very big thank you. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting my channel. The last things to do is to insert the zipper, hem the dress, and also attach the sleeve of your choice. So yeah, I went ahead to cut out. I had a net fabric that I used previously, so I went ahead to cut out sleeves from that. If you don't know how to go about cutting a basic sleeve, you can check out my previous channel. I have a detailed tutorial on how to go about this. So I went ahead to attach sleeves right on this dress off camera. And this brings us to the end of this tutorial. I'll see you in my next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.